Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Enlightening Your Way. I am your host, Nancy Lombardo. We are airing live on the Lilydale Assembly official Facebook page and YouTube channel. I'm a year-round resident in Lilydale and the president of the Church of Living Spirit, which is an independent spiritualist church here on the grounds of Lilydale. I'm a military veteran, retired police detective, fitness and yoga instructor, and wellness is my passion. This show is a combination of my many life experiences that will feature various topics and guests to help enrich one's mind, body, and soul on your pathway to healthy living. My Facebook page, Wellness with Nancy Lombardo, where my motto is protecting and serving your well-being. And today I'm excited to introduce our special guest, Maria Celeste Provenzano Cook. Maria is a psychic medium, author and creator, founder and president of the Center for Creative Healing Dance, and Gems by Celestial Dancer. A native of Massachusetts and a current resident in the Midwest, Maria has lived and traveled extensively throughout the world. Maria is an ordained minister, fourth-degree Reiki master, teacher, and practitioner, a certified master of Christology, teacher and coach of success, full living, a contemporary approach to spiritual responsibility. And having been a 26-year breast cancer journey, Maria is the author of the book, What I Did to Heal Through Cancer, Chemotherapy, and Radiation, Alternative Therapies, Crystals, and More, which is now available on Amazon. Maria Celeste uses her own experiences to inspire others on their own healing journeys. And welcome, Maria.
Thank you. It's
I'm so excited to have you. Oh, you're so sweet. I've always had that. I love you, and you're one of our church members, and you've spoken at church, and our congregation loves you. And I'm so glad that you've accepted to join me tonight in talking about a very important topic, cancer, which affects the lives of so many. It's just so many out there. So my first question, I know you've dealt with cancer for 26 years. Can you tell us about the first time you were diagnosed?
Sure. If I can remember back that far.
I'm going way back.
Yeah. It was actually it was January of 2000. So
you remember.
I do remember. It's not anything you would really ever forget, to be honest. And I would bet if you ever asked anybody that was ever diagnosed, they would be able to tell you exactly when they first found it and exactly where they were when they got the diagnosis. It's like everybody remembers where they were when President Kennedy was shot, right? It's the weirdest thing. But anyway, so it was a Friday night, and I had seen at that time I was substantially younger, so I had my menstrual cycle, and earlier that week I was back in Indiana, about to be totally unemployed, uninsured, because I was getting ready to transfer my entire life over to Turkey from Morgan Stanley. And that particular day, I was meeting with my manager and the person that was going to take my business when I went over to Turkey. And he said, you know what, don't say anything to New York until you're actually gone. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So that Friday night, because earlier that week, Nancy, I had seen an ad on TV that talked about making sure that you tested you self-examined your breasts every month. And I thought, oh, it's Friday night. I should probably do that because it's not anything I normally did. So I did. And right underneath my nipple, when I squeezed my nipple, because this ad talked about how you should squeeze the nipple to see if there's any liquid that comes out. And I thought, I grew up in a medical family, but that's not anything that I thought to do. And so I did. And when I did, this little thing popped up and I went, oh, because I squeezed the nipple and this little like pee thing popped up and I went, ooh, what's this? And I could move it around and play with it. And I thought, okay, so this is really funny. Being Catholic, you'd understand this in our past. I pulled out all my prayer cards, my Islamic prayer cards, my Buddhist prayer cards, my Buddhist Greek, my rosary beads, my Greek beads, my Muslim beads. I had all this stuff out in front of me Friday night, and I am trying to pray it away. Monday morning, so I had to go all weekend through it. Monday morning, I called the doctor, and I finally got in and didn't show up on the ultrasound, didn't show up on the MRI or anything, and got in finally to see the doctor, and ended up they did a biopsy, and it was cancerous. Well, they actually took it, and it was cancerous, so they needed to get new cells and new margins and everything. I said, just take them both off. I said, just get them both off. And he was like, well, what if insurance doesn't pay for it? I said, I'll write you the goddamn check. I have one surgery, one recovery. You're taking both of them off. I'm being done with this. Because if it doesn't show up in the MRI and it doesn't show up on with the ultrasound, I said, I'm not living my life worrying about it. So get them both off. So I immediately went in and had a double mastectomy.
A lot of women make that decision.
Yeah. And because I was like, I have a life to live. I'm not going to live it in the hospital. Take them both off, because if you take one off, I'm probably not going to get the other one off, because it's going to be a pain in the ass, because they're not going to be comfortable. So do it both at the same time. And literally the night before the surgery, the doctor's office called and said, you got pre-approval for both. And I said, good. So I had a double mastectomy immediately right at the time.
Wow.
And it was small, less than a centimeter. So it was like stage 1, early stage 1. And they wanted me to do tamoxifen, and I did tamoxifen for 3 weeks. It was pure hell. 3 months. It was awful. And I told the doctor, I said, I'm not taking this pill. So I didn't do anything. I took it for 3 months, but literally the leg cramps were so bad that my legs were solid cramping. And I said, it's not worth it.
I know you wrote a book about alternative therapies, but way back then, were you incorporating any alternative therapies with your Western medicine?
Back then, yes. Yeah, immediately back then, I did. As a matter of fact, I even gave the doctors the music they were supposed to listen to. I was like, while you're doing your surgery, here's the music I want you to listen to. The surgeon did it. The plastic surgeon who did the immediate reconstruction, they don't do that now. But because the coordination is so difficult with the hospitals and their timing and everything, that they don't. But I immediately went from surgery, from the breast removal to the breast of reconstruction. And I woke up and I was like, that's not my music I gave you. He said, no, I have to do it to rock and roll. So he had on this rock and roll music. I'm like, that is not the music I gave you. He said, no, that's what I have to listen to. He said, here's your CD back, because I did wake up. And then I did Reiki. I was on a magnet. I slept on a magnet blanket to help pull all the toxins out. And so I did a lot, not as much as I do now, but I did do a lot, and I used my crystals back then.
Yeah. So did you have your crystal business back then?
Back then, I did not have it back then. How it started was that May of 2000, which is when I was going through the healing. I signed up for a crystal class. I wanted to take it myself for me. And at the end of it, I said to Karen, I just saw her this week. I said, Karen, I want to start selling your stones. And that was the start of it. So 25 years later.
Yeah, you've been doing that a long time for sure.
Yeah. And
So how long was it before you went into remission on that? Was it immediately after your breast?
It was immediate. Yeah, it was immediate. And I didn't have another bout, for 25 years. I did a lot of alternative turmeric and pawpaw, graviola, vitamin D, vitamin E. Did a lot of exercise. I, like you, very conscious about exercising and working out. So it was the 15 years between the two.
Wow. So what was your mindset when it came back the second time?
Well, it was funny. I was sitting 15 years later, I literally was in the parking lot for my annual check. I think at that point I was seeing her annually, or maybe every 6 months. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why am I going in? She's got more important patients to see than me. And I've been in remission, and I didn't call it remission. I've been without cancer for, I never said I had cancer. The tumor had cancer and the cancer was gone. So the tumor was gone. So the cancer was gone now. So denial has served me greatly in the first 15 years. Yeah, denial was a great thing. And the denial is not working this time. So in 2015, I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, why am I wasting her time on this appointment? And literally, my father, who never swore, literally swore at me and told me to get my ass in there. And I was like, oh, I sat up straight in the car and I was like, okay, Dad, I hear you. And so I went in and we were chatting, and she said, well, let me make sure I do your exam. And she's like, what's this? And I went, what? She's feeling it up under my arm. And she goes, what's this? And I said, what's what? She said, this. And I said, I don't know. What is it? She said, we need to get it biopsied. I said, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So we ran and we got it biopsied, and it proved that it was cancerous that time. And I spent that whole night, Nancy, literally that whole night, I said, there's got to be something here. Because we found out when they did the ultrasound that time, once she found that, then I went through a series of tests immediately and ended up having a whole, what are they called when they do the mammogram? And that mammogram showed that my left implant was leaking. And I said, if there, yeah. And I remember when I hit it, and I told Eric, I said, I punctured my implant, and then life got in the way. And 7 years later, it was silicone, so it leaked slowly, and I didn't pay any attention to it, but it did affect my thyroid, because a couple of years earlier, we had done a biopsy on my thyroid because of the silicone. Now, we didn't know it was the silicone, but I found a doctor who had done a very small study, 18 people, it was a very small study, who had leaking silicone implants that had thyroid issues. And I actually talked to William. His name is Philip Bear, and he's from the Mayo Clinic. And he and I actually spent Saturday on the phone, that Saturday. There's another Saturday, 15 years later. And I reached out to him. He called me. We talked about my case. And he said, yeah, well, if they're telling you there's cancer there, then you should have it removed and have saline put in. So I ended up having another double mastectomy with saline, but it was actually in my lymph nodes. So that time I had radiation and chemotherapy, because I was, as much as I knew I could do that without all that medical stuff, I know enough about the body, and I teach about the body to know that God within me can heal me. And I thought, I don't have the energy to fight my Western medical family while I'm trying to do this in my head. And so I ended up doing the chemotherapy and the radiation.
Well, I don't think we could dismiss Western medicine all the way. For sure, there's definitely things that we need. I thought that was an interesting story, what you told me before we got on live about your dad. Would you say that he's in the medical profession?
Yeah, he was. He was a world-renowned pediatrician, and he wrote many papers, 13 of which were published internationally.
Wow.
In New England Journal of Medicine, the Harvard Medical Review, American Pediatric Review. Yeah. So he was quite published.
And he was open to alternative therapies.
Very open to alternative medicine. Very open. As a matter of fact, any of you out there who have any children or relatives that are on the cystic fibrotic vent, the pumping vest that they wear, that's all based on my dad's research. Now, my dad didn't create the vest, but he did the research. At the time, he physically had the patient's parents doing what the vest did, pumping that child, and she lived till she was 23 in a tent with them pumping the body 3 times a day. But now they have a vest where the parents don't have to pump it. The vest is actually a mechanical vest.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I actually, when I was thinking about this last night, I said, I really need to contact those, because I think there's like now 3 or 4 companies, oddly enough, that make the vests. And I thought, I want to go talk to the marketing people so that they know how that vest came. I can tell you how that vest came into being. And yes, it's really cool. So I fight with Western medicine and medical medicine, but my dad was very Western. It was very alternative medicine for him to, start. It was almost like a Reiki treatment. He taught the parents to use.
Yeah, I love that. So am I saying that right? Christology?
Christology, absolutely, yes.
So you're a master in it, and you've been selling it, and you know so much. And there's a lot of people, a lot of our audience, I'm sure, that love crystals, carry crystals, have them in their houses. How did you incorporate crystals into your healing process?
Well, and I'm looking around because it's just there's usually not too many crystals not too far around, but they're not the big beautiful crystals. They're always the small little crystals. So what I did, crystals, even my parents thought I was going to be a geologist as a kid, because I was always picking up rocks, or it was like, how did that form? How did this get to be? how did God form the earth? I mean, I was always asking these esoteric, like, how did that rock get up there? And how did that mountain get up there? And I've just finished reading a book. Well, I'm in the process of reading the book on the geology of Joshua Tree, which to me is fascinating. And so all the time, I always had stones around me. I could walk on the beach for hours and pick up stones and shells. So at the time that I had the crystals or through the surgery, I basically used clear quartz just to keep me balanced and just keep me centered. And it was something that I could hold on to and just know God made 3 kingdoms. He made the animal kingdom, which we're part of. He made the mineral kingdom. Well, you guys can't see what's in this bag, so I'll show you. There's 3 different crystals in here. There is one of my favorite is labradorite. This is labradorite with garnets and iolites in sterling silver. And then this is bloodstone. And then this is Our Lady of Fatima. And this is a little rock from Cape Cod. It's just a little quartz rock from Cape Cod. So it's just, you'll always see me somewhere having a little pile of rocks, or they're like my best friends. So, and God made the mineral kingdom, and the plant kingdom. So he's got 3 energetically, he or she, 3 energetic kingdoms: the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the animal kingdom. All 3 kingdoms are alive energetically, and they all support each other. The plant kingdom feeds us. The mineral kingdom feeds us. 98% of our body's water, but the other is all these chemicals running through our body. And if you understand the science and natural law and the law of frequency and the law of vibration, these things are chemicals. There's different chemical compounds. And if you study the chemical compound, like the iron in the bloodstone affects the iron in our blood, so they will energetically work to stimulate the response that we want in the body with the chemical that we need. Or if we're deficient in the body, we can use, like, for a lot of women, pre-osteoporosis, your body's going to want calcium. So calcite is a great stone to carry if you're premenopause, because your body will absorb the calcium from the calcite and helps strengthen the calcium that gets leached out of our bodies. So there's a lot of science, and the laws of nature work together energetically with the mineral kingdom, so that they really do energetically work with us. If you understand that, it's not just a woo woo, oh my God, these crystals work. There's actual natural law, how these work with our bodies, the law of resonance, the law of frequency, their chemical makeup, our chemical makeup, and we're part of God's kingdoms, and we energetically work together. And so it's so beautiful in my head how these things dance with us.
And just a matter of carrying them, holding them.
Yes, you don't have to a lot. That's one of the things I'd like to teach is now I own the stone. What do I do with it? And I do teach that. Maybe one day I'll come on and do that. So I have all this information in my head. I need to share it with you guys. But yeah, I forget where we were going.
No, where you were going. I was also thinking, and you had it in 3, so you're almost doing, the numericals, the numbers.
Yeah, as above, so below, mind, body, spirit. Yeah,
lovely.
The Trinity.
That's lovely. So let's back up a little bit and tell me how you first discovered that you were a medium.
How did I first discover that I was a medium?
Is it something you learned, or is it something that you had since you were a child, that experience?
It's something I had that I was, okay, all right, but I can tell a real intimate story here. All right. So, when I was a little girl, I dance in my head. I spend a lot of time in my head. I really am very capable of being alone in my head and keeping myself entertained. And so I would spend a lot of time by myself as a child, and people would walk into my room and I'd just be jabbering away, and they go, "Who are you talking to?" And I go, "I'm talking to God." And they would go, "You can't talk to God." I'm going, "We can all talk to God." And they would go, "Well, what's God saying?" And then this profound thing would come out of my mouth, and then this look would get on their face, and I would be like, "God, I don't know what you just had me say, but I hope it was something they understood, because I don't know what you just had me say, but I'm hoping that they get it. And then they would always leave the room. And I'm like, okay, that's really weird. And my grandmother was the only one. She'd say, come on, Maria, we'll go pray and we'll talk to God. So my grandmother would always come with me, and she would kneel by my bed, and she would pray with me to God. And so it was something I always did as a kid. And then and I'm trying to find this picture because I'm 2.5 years old. It's a Christmas time, and I'm sitting with my yellow Dr. Denton's on in front of the creche. For those of you who don't know what the creche is, it's the Holy Nativity scene at Christmas time. And I'm on the floor with the first Noel book, and I'm 2.5. And my brother and my mother walk in, and they go, what are you doing? I said, I'm reading this book to baby Jesus. And they go, you can't read. And I said, yes, I can. What a stubborn little kid. I said, I'm putting the pictures in my head, and I'm sending the pictures from my head to baby Jesus. And besides, this isn't how it happened. And my brother actually has a picture of that whole event taking place. And then they left, and I said, baby Jesus, I'll keep reading you the book, but this isn't how it happened. I know this is not how it happened, but this is how we tell the story of the first Noel. And so then my family would laugh at me about things like that. So I just shut it down. I'm like, okay, this is my family, and they think I'm weird because I'm like talking to God. So I shut that kind of stuff down until, I don't know, it was about 45. And I had to make a decision. I had just started the new job at Dean Witter, Morgan Stanley, from Smith Barney, and my nephew was graduating, but we were also having a family reunion. And I said, which one do you want me to go to? I can go to one or the other, but I just started a new job and I'm not going to do both. He said, well, come to the family reunion. So I started to write him, my nephew, a letter for his graduation. And I ended up, it was a channel from Jesus. And I'm like, God, this isn't funny because this is my family and you're making me stand up in front of my family about the crazy stuff that goes on in my head. I'm like, okay, I guess it's time. So that following, I sent it to my nephew for his graduation from high school. That following Monday, which was after the high school graduation, my mother called me, and I was like, oh, it's my mother. I better go shut my door, because I was at my office at about 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. And so I shut the door, and my mom's on the phone. She says, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the woman that shut me down. Oh, shit. She said, the kids were running through the living room the other day, and I asked them what they were laughing at when they were running through the living room. They said they were laughing at your letter. I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was channeled from Jesus, right? And mom said to my nephews and nieces, go get the letter. I want to read it. Now you got to remember, this is a woman that shut me down because she was laughing at me because I was talking to God when I was a little kid. And now she's reading this letter that was channeled from Jesus. And she says, I told them that was going to be the most important letter that my nephew, his name's Matthew, that was the most important letter Matthew would ever get, and that he ought to be serious about it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Here's the woman that shut me down, just gave me permission to open up again.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really very cool. And so at that time, a dear friend of mine was also a medium, and she said, you do this stuff, I was like, yeah, man, whatever. She goes, no, you really do this. You should come to Chesterfield with me and study with Suzanne Greer. And I'm like, who and where and what? She goes, no, come on. We're going to go up to Suzanne Greer. You're going to sit in a trance. And I sat in a trance, and her trumpet literally flew around the room. And I'm like, holy crap, what is going on? Because I'd never been in a seance, but Suzanne Greer, and the trumpet came up against my head, and I'm like, okay, this is really pretty cool.
And it wasn't in the dark.
And I started studying, and like in the second week, Suzanne said, you're going to be in my trance class. I went, okay. And so she just, held by fire, because she was tough. Suzanne was tough, but I'm very, very grateful for her. And
so how has your belief as a medium and spiritual healer helped you on your cancer journey?
Oh, I think it's helped me be in denial about all of it. Denial has served me well for the first 24 years.
Do you feel like it was like protecting you in a way?
I didn't, early on, Nancy, a lot of people were like, well, why don't you join Why Me? There was an organization, there still is an organization in Indianapolis called Why Me for women that get breast cancer. And I'm like, but I never thought about, I never said why me. And never. I was like, take the two damn things out. I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to have kids. Nobody's going to be lactating off of them. I'm 45 years old. I'm not going to have kids. Just take them out of here and be done with it. So, and that's what we did. And I never thought about it. It didn't bother me. I never lived with why me. I didn't. The only thing I ever did, I spoke to why me. I actually talked to them. They asked me to do, at that time, it was something. I might have been teaching them Reiki or something at the time, maybe even meditation. And I never embraced that I had cancer and I still don't embrace it. It's like, but it's not, to me, cancer is a wake-up call. It's not been a death sentence. And I've read about it and I've approached it and I've denied it for 25 years. And just recently, Nancy, I've like, okay, I'm not fighting this anymore. For 25 years, I think I have fought. I've always said fight feisty. And now it's like, I'm not fighting anymore. Get your ass up here and dance with me. You've been with me for 25 years. Let's go do the dance together. Because I've ignored you and you're still here. So now get up here, let me hug you, and let's go do the dance of life together. So that's where I've sort of embraced it all. It's like,
but that's also having a positive outlook, I believe, and which is a good thing. I think it's important. Don't you think your mindset of the whole ordeal is so important?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've never let cancer define me. I've always tried to, it is what it is. And it's my body can take care of it. And I'm going to feed it the right things. It drives me crazy when doctors say, no, diet doesn't have anything to do with it. Hello. It does. We are what we eat. And unfortunately, I used to live on sugar as a child. I had a great, I mean,
so I think many people find it sometimes uncomfortable to talk to people with cancer, or they don't know what to say, or they avoid the topic altogether. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that?
Well, I avoid it, so I understand why they want to avoid it. I mean, I understand because you don't know what to say. A lot of times you don't know what to say. It's like cancer, and it's like everybody treats that so differently in terms of how do I react when people tell me they have cancer? I immediately go to the book, Metaphysical Anatomy, and go, here, read this, and then journal it away. Because I have really spent the last year and a half doing a lot of journaling and journaling this away and going even deeper. As much as I have done this stuff, and every time I've been diagnosed with it, I've gotten deeper into doing alternative stuff, and you think you know it, and then there's another onion layer to come off, and then another onion layer, and finally, it wasn't very long ago, it actually happened since we've been here since Christmas. I was walking through because I am a spiritualist and a medium, I spend a lot of time in my head talking to spirit. People they don't die. They're still there. I mean, Jesus is there, and Mary is there, and Joseph is there, and St. Clair is there, and St. Rita is there, and Anthony and Joseph. I mean, they're like, these are my best friends. And I mean, we have council meetings. So it's really true. So the other day this about a month ago, just before Christmas, I'm walking through to go sit next to my husband. And I stopped and I went, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I am literally going to leave this body and die. And Eric's like, yeah, hello, we're all going to die. I said, I know, but it just dawned on me that I'm going to not be in this body someday. And then I thought, I'm 70. The average woman lives to 86? I have aunts and uncles that live to 100. And so I've told my oncologist I want to live to 108. That's in my head. And I'm like, what difference does it make what I do? It's not like I'm 28 with a whole life ahead of me. I'm 70. It's like, just go and dance. It doesn't matter. Just go and dance, because no matter what you do, you're going to die anyway. So you can have that piece of chocolate cake, or you can have that glass of wine, or you don't have to work out today. Whatever it is, it's just, it was really, it's interesting that's all new for me. It's like, oh yeah, I really am going to leave this body.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually wrote that on one of my questions because I'd watched that little Facebook Live that you did where you said that it dawned on me I was going to die. But when you initially were diagnosed, even 15, 20 years ago with the cancer the first time and then the second time, did it not cross your mind that I could die of this? And was that not part of your mindset that I might die?
It's funny. It's never been my mindset. I have seen a lot of people die of cancer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It is not pretty. It is not. As I sit before you now, cancer in its early stages, if you catch cancer early enough, dudes, it is not painful. You don't even know you have it. Because what it is, it's your body getting a wake-up call to help you heal something that's diseased in your body, that's out of ease in your body. And I am a true believer in that. And the more and more I study about German new medicine, the more and more I'm like, with my dad, who's an explorer, with his support, and Dr. Hammer, who's the science person behind German new medicine, the two of them in spirit, encouraging me to go down this path and study about this. I've never said, oh my God, I'm going to die with this. I'm like, okay, God, show me what to do so that I die I'm ascending out of here. From the time I was a little girl, I've told God, I want to ascend out of here. I don't want to die. And my ascension is falling. That's how my dad died. He fell asleep and just left.
Yeah.
Just left.
It's kind of beautiful.
On a Friday afternoon. He just left. That's how I want to go. So that's my next book is going to be my conversations with God. And that's actually a conversation, Nancy. I truly have that conversation with God. We are rewriting this contract, dude. We are rewriting this fine print. I do not anything but that drama in my life. Anything but that drama.
So what encouraged you to write your book?
So I was through the second bout of breast cancer. I journaled almost every day. And I sent that journal, I think it was called, the name of the book, I think was Cancer from the Inside Out. And I sent it to a friend of mine to do the editing. And she sent it back and she said, I don't want to hear what you went through. I want to know what you did to heal.
Huh.
That means I have to rewrite this. And God said to me, no, you don't have to rewrite it. You have to take the excerpts out of that book and just put it in a book of what you did to heal. And so I didn't realize at the time that my friend and the editor that was doing this also had to deal with her mother going through breast cancer, and her mother died of breast cancer.
Oh.
So her not wanting to read my day-to-day activity was, she said it was way too much of her having to relive her mom going through the breast cancer. And she said, I don't want to read what you went through. I want to know what you did to heal. And so she was the one that caused, and I've got 400 pages of that whole journal, but I went through and I restructured the book to tell people specifically what I did to heal. So the book is just what I did to heal. It talks about the positive affirmations. It talks about the different stones that I did, the alternative medicines that I used the biomat, the GB4000 machine, which I still do all of that, which is a Rife machine. And Dr. Rife, who uses light, energy, and also sound. The Rife machine isn't sound, but you can use sound. And the hyperbaric chamber. So I do a lot of stuff in addition to what's in that book because I've added to it.
And I think a lot of that stuff is coming more in the forefront for sure. The sound healings. I mean, the crystals, the mats. It's coming to more common language with people, and they hear it more often. They're willing to experiment. They're willing to test the waters if they've never done that before, and I think that's a good thing. Why not?
Right, exactly. Like ivermectin a lot of people are using ivermectin for. And I'm not saying you should use ivermectin. I'm not saying you shouldn't use ivermectin, but ivermectin's getting great results with cancer patients.
So you have a second book you're working on now. I heard you make mention to it. Yes?
It's actually an oracle deck that is.
It's a deck. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
okay.
It's an oracle deck. The second book, it's funny, in my journaling today, it was like, okay, it's time for me to work on my second book, which is my conversations with God.
Yes.
But I do have an Oracle deck. All of the verbiage has been done for the Oracle deck. It's at a designer right now to get the box, all the stuff that will take all of my writings and the pictures and make it cards in a box in a book. Because I don't know how to do all that. So I'm with a person now that's going to do the artwork and make it a box in a book so that you guys can have the box in the book and the deck cards.
Well,
Right.
people love Oracle decks, so that would be exciting and
Yeah.
something good for you to come out with. Yeah, I love that.
Sorry.
I'm wondering, I always like to end with this question about what is the most important thing you feel that you've learned through your spiritual journey?
For me, my faith is what has actually allowed me to journey through this, but it's been my faith and the joy of getting to this point of embracing life like I have never embraced life before, and be in the joy and be in the love and be in the gaiety of being alive. We're here for one short lifetime, whether it's 100 days or 100 years or 500 years like Moses. If Moses can live to 500, we can live to 500. It's our own mindset that says we can't. And like Elizabeth had Anne when she was 68 years old. So all of that in the Bible, I think we can actually live. So my faith has been a huge lesson for me. I don't know that it's a lesson, but it's something that I'm very grateful for. I grew up with parents my parents lived their faith. They demonstrated their faith. They imparted their faith upon us. I saw them walk it, live it, teach it, eat it, everything. And that faith has carried me through. But the joy that I have as a result of that faith, understanding that the children are what get into heaven, to really encourage all of us to play every day. And I used to be a very serious person. I got to get this done and this done. I had more stuff done by 9 o'clock in the morning than most people had done in a month. And now it's like that. None of that's important. I'm like, I'm really lazy. The next 70 years of my life are just going to be to learn. The most important lesson, Nancy, that I have, pray that your audience can take away, is to really embrace living. I don't care whether you've got a broken toe, you've got an amputated leg, whatever it is, we are on this earth plane to quicken our souls for just a minute part of our soul's journey. And this is where we quicken our soul so that we can get a little better house up in heaven, or a little closer to our own God spark within us, and to journey that and to spend each day embracing the God within us so that we really can know God and to be and to demonstrate God's love here on earth. And that's been a beautiful lesson that I have learned about dancing the dance and dancing my feet and dancing my joy, because it can't be bought. It can't be learned. It only can be danced and lived. And the more you dance and live your joy as a playful little girl or a little boy, the more you're going to have joy. And when the world's falling around you, you're going to have that inner joy, because we take this soul, this God spark, back to the God within us, back to the big God. And when we can journey that with love and joy and freedom and peace, that will permeate through everything. And then we will have peace on earth. But that it starts with us.
Yeah. I was going to ask you one more question. Is there any words you would like to share with the other people that are listening, that are sharing this cancer journey with you right now?
So, yes, understand that cancer is a wake-up call. It is not a death sentence. Truly, truly, truly. So, and I know that when you get that diagnosis, if you can live through the diagnosis, I know people have said that if you can live through the diagnosis, you can live through it. But truly, if you can get a hold of this book, which is a book that I have traveled with now for the last year and a half, it's Yvette Rose's The Anatomy, the Metaphysical Anatomy. And if you've done any of Louise Hay's work, Louise Hay's is amazing with affirmations. I think she's the grandmother of affirmations. But Yvette Rose takes Louise Hay's work and takes it from an undergraduate 101 class to a graduate 505 class. In terms of really having you intensely look at the dis-ease in the body. And the more I deal with this, and the more I release that which has bound me, and the little fears that I have, and the whole history of blah, 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 the joy that gets unveiled as you do your internal work and release it and overcome it and be in the joy that is within you, because it is love, and there's only love. And when you tap into that for yourself, the cancer will melt away. None of us get out of this alive. I get that. It's something new. Just the last, I know that none of us get out of this alive, but it really hit me. I'm like, oh shit, I really am going to die. I really am. So in the meantime, move those feet and make yourself happy. Darn.
And dance.
Yes. Happy feet and dance. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Maria, you've been a delight.
Oh, thank you.
You spoke eloquently and
joyfully,
and I got a lot out of it. So thank you so much for joining me this evening.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
Awesome. And I thank you all for listening and for watching this evening. I'll be back again in 2 weeks. Please join us again for Enlightening Your Way, and check back here on the Lilydale Assembly Inc. Facebook page for everything that's going on in Lilydale. We have a lot of events coming off season and on season, and they put stuff up about every day. So keep up with that, and the website. My Facebook page, Wellness with Nancy Lombardo, and Instagram, nancy.k.lombardo. And Maria, they can check out, you do Facebook Live on your Facebook page, so check her out, be your friend, and watch her Facebook Lives. My name is Nancy Lombardo. I am protecting and serving your well-being. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and good evening, everybody.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.